You have a multi-million-dollar business because you're motivational. You're speaking all the time. You have all these speaking engagements. Your kids may not be able to motivate and speak the way you do, right? So that business is not a sustainable business, right? So you want to always have different sources of income where that can theoretically pass down, because after all, I think we're here to kind of live a better life and leave a better life for our kids and the people that come after us. And so that's what we're trying to do.
What's going on, everybody? Steven from the Vargas Team here again, and welcome to another video. Okay, guys, so look, I'm excited to announce the launch of my new podcast entitled the In Your Place Podcast. It's something that we've been working on for some time now, but of course, given the pandemic and everything that's been going on, it's been a bit difficult to do. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos and my previous content, then you know that this podcast format is a bit different from my regular content. The In Your Place Podcast is about having conversations with those in the real estate industry to learn from their different experiences. Now, to kick it all off, in this week's video, I'm actually the one who's being interviewed by Reggie and Tania Andre, who are the owners of Ark Solvers, which is a Miami-based IT company that specializes in real estate. Now, we cover a wide range of topics, from everything from general questions that I get asked a lot to just the outlook of the current and future real estate market, but as well as the small business owner mindset and the entrepreneurship mindset as well. So before I continue to ramble on, let's just get straight to the video. But as always, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to be notified of my next week's video, where I actually sit down with an insurance agency to discuss the real estate insurance industry during these tough times. And I'm sure you don't want to miss that because it can impact you. Now, again, like I mentioned, enough of me talking. Let's get straight to the video. And guys, enjoy.
All right, so here we are again for another exciting conversation with another Miami business leader in the community, Steven Vargas. He is a real estate guru. He is completely taking the Miami market by storm and selling everything that comes his way. We're super excited to have him on the show because he is definitely a Miami business leader, and he's also part of the Miami Business Leaders group. So for all of you who are watching, who just happen to be entrepreneurs, you happen to be a CEO, CFO, a Miami business leader, we want you to join us in our group. Let me tell you, that group is moving, they're networking, they're closing on business. We're already getting thank yous for closed business, and all we're doing is networking, having fun, and building a community around small businesses and large businesses here in Miami. So we are going to start. Today's topic is pivoting in the real estate market during challenging times. And again, we have Steven Vargas with us, and I am going to ask Steven, tell us about you, tell the group and tell all who are watching, who is Steven and what is the Vargas team, and tell us all about what you do.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, no, guys, first and foremost, thank you guys for having me. I'd love to share my story and any insight that I can provide. It's always a great honor to do that. But yeah, I mean, Steven Vargas, the Vargas team in a nutshell. I mean, what can I say? It's my wife and I, we are the Vargas team essentially. And we've been in real estate. I've been in real estate for about 6 years now. And we do real estate. We do luxury real estate in the downtown Brickell area. We sell condominiums. We also have a property management company as we help our investors manage their investment properties. And we are also investors in the multifamily space. So, ideally our specialty is buy, sell, and rents in the condo market. We also do a lot of single family stuff. But as of late, over the last couple of years, we've also graduated into the investing side. So the investing component, when it comes to that, we also have a lot of knowledge in that. So the Vargas team is just that, trying to get our message out to as many people as possible, to try to spread the word through our branding, through our YouTube videos, through our newsletters, through our social media. And the idea of the Vargas team is just to educate people into real estate. There's a lot of misnomers about real estate. And the thing about real estate that I find funny is that, anybody that has done real estate in one facet or another, right? So it's kind of like one of those things that you hear 5 people speak about real estate and you get 5 different answers about it, right? So, and it's true because real estate is so hyper local. It really just depends on your market and your street and your area. So it could be true, but there's also a lot of misnomers and bad information being passed. So the Vargas team set out to kind of correct that information, give you the information that you need, because we truly feel that the best consumer or the best client for us is an educated client, right? And those are the, the easiest people to work with, who obviously know, the education and the knowledge that they need to do what they, to make the purchase or the sale that they need to do. And we're here to navigate them through that. So I hope I wasn't long-winded in that response, but other than that, just a guy who likes to have fun, share my message, and yeah, that's it.
Well, we're very excited to have you, Steven. I know that you have been really crushing the real estate market since you started. And how long have you been in this industry?
Going into my 6th year now in real estate. Yeah, but it feels longer, but yeah, there's been a lot of stuff from then to now. But yeah, about 6 years now.
Awesome. Recently we were actually thinking about getting into real estate investment ourselves, just because we definitely see the value in that. And we follow people like, Grant Cardone, Julian, and they talk about real estate investment. So that's actually a journey that we ourselves are interested in. I'm sure other people who are watching have been at some point interested in starting to invest in real estate. Tell us a little bit about that, and tell us why you also decided to invest in real estate yourself.
That's a great question. I mean, being a real estate agent is kind of like every other job, in the sense that you need to really work, and you need to work the business in order for the business to work for you. And the way I kind of perceived real estate is that it's a really good career for me. Something that I love. It's a passion of mine. But over the course of the years, I kind of realized that no matter how many transactions I do, at the end of 5, 10, 15, 20 years, if I'm not accumulating something, I don't have anything to show for it. So if I stop working, then the business stops. And I kind of didn't like that concept of just kind of continuing working forever. I have a lot of energy and a lot of passion, and I have no qualms of stopping that now, but I just felt maybe give myself the option for future Steven, right? So with that, I understood that investing was a passive income vehicle, and the idea of financial freedom is for your passive income to surpass your earned income. And the second that you're able to get your passive income to surpass your earned income, then theoretically you're financially free. You can do whatever you want, go wherever you want, be with whoever you want, or do the same things that you're doing now, but now you're without all the pressure that you have to put on yourself to make the business go, to meet payroll, to have clients, to build and grow. Everybody wants to do that, but if you're able to give yourself the ability to have that passive income, you have a little bit more breathing room, and it gives you a lot of more space for creativity. I felt like as our passive income started increasing, I was able to afford more time to do YouTube videos, to meet with clients more, do things like this, where I don't have to constantly be out and about to make things happen. And so real estate was kind of that vehicle for me. And everybody wants to invest in real estate or in stocks at some point in their life. People, I feel, invest in things that they know. I don't know stocks. And for a while, it was just like, I'm good at this. I'd rather double down on what I'm good at in real estate than try to figure something else out that I'm not. So that's how.
Absolutely. And I like that you said passive income, because I feel like a lot of people now are really just trying to make that quick, rich, get rich, business, which is not bad. I mean, if you have a business and that's the way you've been able to build it and it's been sustainable, that's amazing. That's great. We want to hear about it. Inbox us if you have that business model. We want to know what you're doing, because you've actually been successful. But I like the whole, the passive income, because at the end of the day, you're building legacy. And I think that, like, for our future, like you said, our futures, the future Steven, maybe our future daughter and son can continue to benefit from that passive income. And I think that that's a very important, and you said something about how if your passive income surpasses your work income.
Earned income, yeah.
Earned income. Can you dive in a little bit? Can you kind of explain that a little bit more in detail about how that works?
Sure. So the way I look at it is you have two sources of income, or two facets of income you want to try to achieve. You have your earned income, which is the amount of money that you need to make to cover all your expenses, right? To basically pay for your housing, your car, your insurance, all your expenses together. And the way I kind of looked at it is I put it on an Excel a long time ago, and I still update that Excel as as my expenses increase. And the idea is like, I know this number that I need to achieve for my earned income, and my earned income needs to at least make me that to break even. And then anything above that is just, an added bonus. But then on the other side, you have a lifestyle income number, which is if I could live whatever way I wanted to live, live in the place I want to live, drive the car I wanted to drive, go on the vacations I want to go, take care of the kids, and, spend this amount of time at work. What is my lifestyle income? So your first goal in being a real estate investor is to first reach your earned income, to say, I have now made the bare minimum to meet my expenses. Now, how much harder do I want to work to get to my lifestyle income, which is the way I want to truly live, right? So those are like, when I speak to investors, I'm always asking them, what's your earned income number? What is your lifestyle number? Because everybody has different goals, right? And if we don't set a target for that goal, it's impossible to hit that target, right? So what my goals may be to your goals are completely different, and in many cases irrelevant, because you may not need as many properties as I need, or may not want as many properties as I want, right? So it's all about understanding how your earned income works for you. But to me, the biggest thing was I want to have a business that's self-sufficient, that is generational, that I could pass down to my kids. And, a lot of businesses, what I ask a lot of entrepreneurs is the business running because you're talented and you're good? Because if you're talented and good, that's a great thing. But then that means that if your kids aren't as talented or as good as you, then that business may not continue to thrive, because it's you, right? So, and this is a great example. Like, if you're a motivational speaker and you have a multi-million-dollar business because you're speaking all the time, you have all these speaking engagements, your kids may not be able to motivate and speak the way you do, right? So that business is not a sustainable business, right? So you want to always have different sources of income where that can theoretically pass down, because after all, I think we're here to kind of live a better life and leave a better life for our kids and the people, that come after us. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Steven, you really dropped some knowledge there, man. And that's something we've never even thought about, because our kids are actually going to have their own identities, for sure. Right? They're going to have their own giftings, and they're going to have their own talents and their own dreams and desires, and not necessarily want to inherit, right, what we have created. So, that is, wow, that I'm blown away by that statement, Steven. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that that's so important to understand what is going to continue to drive your business and create longevity for your business. And it's not necessarily going to be your kids.
Right.
So that's a lot of knowledge right there, and I think that could be a whole nother conversation that we can have.
Yeah. So Steven, let me ask you some real estate questions here.
Sure.
So let's talk, first of all, talk about the residential real estate market. How is it looking right now?
Well, Miami is a very interesting place, right? Miami, aside from COVID, was a very strong market. And, Florida, as of recently, just surpassed Texas. I don't know if Texas surpassed Florida again, but as of recent, I think it was February, March, it surpassed Texas as the #1 migrated state. So there's a lot of people who want to move into Florida, right? And I always ask people who don't live in Florida, if you think of Florida, you think of two cities. You think of Orlando, Miami. So you would have to think that the majority of people who are coming to Florida are most likely going to come to Orlando or Miami. And I think Miami has benefited from that growth. Single family numbers in terms of single family homes have increased month after month, year after year for the longest time, with the exception of the coronavirus that kind of was inclining. There was no signs of at least it declining. The coronavirus kind of put a pause on that. And we'll talk about the numbers in terms of how that happened. I think April, for example, the single family home transaction sales went down, and in May it spiked back up 16%. Now, if you ask me, it has a lot to do with, people getting cold feet, not wanting to buy, lenders adding extra requirements. They raised the FHA minimum score. So a lot of people who qualified couldn't qualify anymore. But more than that, I think it's a more practical reason as to why it went down in April. In April, people didn't want to show their properties anymore. So if you can't show properties and you can't see properties, you obviously cannot send offers and you cannot have transactions going. So I think it's a culmination of a lot of things. May increased 16% in single family homes, and it's a strong increase, more than economists thought it was going to be. And I think it's because Miami was a strong market. There was a shortage of inventory already in the single family home space. And the fact that people can get out of their property now and finally go start seeing units again obviously shows the increase. Not to mention that interest rates are at an all-time low. You know, I had this conversation with somebody, I think it's like 2.5, 2.8%. I'm not a mortgage lender, so don't quote me on that, but I think it's extremely low. Whatever the number is, it's almost like free money. And so a lot of people are going out there getting these interest rates because it wasn't too long ago that, you know, the baby boomers remember it being at 8, 10. Some people got interest rates back in the 80s or 90s and around 12, 13%. I was talking to an investor who got an interest rate for one of his properties at 12%. And during that time, he thought it was a steal. So you can only imagine what it is at 2.5%, 3%, even 4%. So all those reasons alone, transactions have gone up. The condo market is a little different because we had an oversupply of inventory. But the influx of people moving into the state and therefore moving into the city, I think will eat up that inventory at some point, and the prices will start to go back up and rebound.
And you mentioned with the condo market, so are they opening back up to allow realtors to actually show the units?
Yeah, for sure. For a time, it was a little difficult because they had a lot of restrictions, whether it was how many people could go per showing, how many showings can happen per day. And every building handles it different because every association is managed obviously different by a different board. So their requirements are completely different. So it's not one standardized requirement. And that kind of is a little troublesome because I may be able to show a building that may say, yeah, you two can go up the elevator, and then go to another one and says only one client can go. And I have a husband and a wife. So it's kind of like, you know, I'd rather take the wife on it in my opinion, because they tend to make the decision.
Smart guy.
And so, but nonetheless, I'll have to come back down and bring it becomes a hassle. As of late, they've been much more relaxed on allowing things, but it's curious to see how that's going to happen again with the spike as of recent. I don't know if they're going to implement the same procedures, if they're going to be more harsh, or if they're going to leave them the same, but we're playing it day by day.
Yeah, because I could see some issues, especially with the amenities, right? Those still being
amenities have been closed. Yeah, amenities have been closed, which has been a problem because part of the condo's appeal is you're getting a unit, at least with the product that I deal with, on the water or with a great view of the city. But what sells you is the amenities, right? The lobby attended security, the fob system. You're getting a gym, you're getting a spa, you're getting, a pool, you're getting some sort of club room. When I can't show that 60, 70% of what kind of sells the unit, it becomes a detriment. But at the same time, I think a lot of people were just hungry to take advantage of the low interest rates. In some cases, panic selling from sellers who thought that the market was continue to dip and it will never bounce back up again. So people were just giving discounts, and a lot of buyers were taking advantage of that, right? So things were still happening. We were doing virtual showings for a while, meeting with our clients over the phone, taking videos, doing FaceTime, whatever we have to do, to make sure that we continue to grow as a business and we continue to expand and do transactions, but that our clients also still are able to partake, because a lot of people wanted to buy even before this, and it kind of put their buying on hold. And with the interest rates coming down, they're like, no, I have to pull the trigger now.
That's funny, Stephen, because here at Ark Solvers, cybersecurity and IT services, we actually specialize in the condo market, and we manage over about 200 plus condos in the area, Miami, South Miami, Brickell area, downtown, all the way up to like the Sunny Isles, Hollywood Beach, and up to Fort Lauderdale Beach, Las Olas area. So we're very familiar with the condo market and dealing with associations and managing their IT systems. So we know all about that condo world. So it is difficult to sell in that market, in that type of market when you have so many people, like you said, board members, associations making decisions on what they can do, what they will allow. So I think it's, what you said, like doing virtual tours and being creative out of the box. I think in any industry, in real estate and whatever, business that you're in is key right now. You have to start to think outside the box so that you can continue to push through, the market and the negativity of what's going on in these challenging times. And I think that that's something that you've been very good at doing. I know that you also have like a YouTube channel and some other avenues as to how you educate your consumers, correct?
Right. It's all about staying on top of mind and providing value and providing information. And look, we are flooded with the amount of information disposable to us from all sources, right? So I understand that sending out information can kind of be a burden to some people because I'm sure I'm not the only one who checks my inbox every day after clearing it the night before and it's just filled again, right, with just information. But we try our best to just relay important information, valuable information, but more importantly, information that you can apply, you can actually use, right? It's tangible, something that, it's just not generalized information. So I'm talking about the market. I'm talking about different tips, tactics. And our ideal with the YouTube channel that we created is how to make you a better buyer, seller, landlord, property manager, real estate agent, better renter, from, the basic to the most complicated. We're trying to give you that value. Now, whether you work with us or not, because a lot of people on my YouTube channel don't even live in Miami, but the idea is you're educated enough to find things and find the right people and the right team for you in your market that can put the pieces in place, because real estate is a team sport. It's more than just a real estate agent. It's so many things that go along with it. I mean, you guys are part of that team process that work behind the scenes that a lot of people don't even know about. But if like the IT, for example, isn't running right in a condominium, then therefore it impedes, a person's application or the way that, a lot of things have to take into account. And most people don't know this information. So I try to share this information to make them more educated and just spread that so that they can therefore utilize that and do what they want with it. But most importantly, you want to stay top of mind. You may not be thinking about buying real estate, selling real estate, or renting real estate right now, but at some point you're going to, right? And whether that's a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, hopefully my idea is you think of this crazy guy with this purple background who wears a suit, and you'll be like, that guy's the guy who I need to call, right? So, but it's about providing information rather than asking for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I like about UC. When Tanya and I were we're just browsing homes on Zillow and things like that. And you see the realtors and they're posting the pictures on their iPhone, and it's like not edited, and there's like just bad angles. There's like, how does the backyard look? There's no pictures of all the bathrooms. And
Right.
And I think that's important for the business leaders here, is whatever business you in, don't just you gotta go. You just can't give the bare minimum, because when you look at someone like Steve's page and you look at his YouTube and all the information he's giving and how pristine the pictures are and the angles are, and it's like, that is so important. So no matter what business you're in, you just can't, if you're a chef, you can't just expect people to come to your restaurant. You got to go on Facebook. You got to go on Instagram. Every time you cook a new dish, take pictures, do things differently to set you apart.
For sure. And to that, I would just add that, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And I even heard Dean Graziosi talk about it one time, and he was like, if you're in a job that you hate, doing something that you don't love, you're not magically going to run into the job that you love, right? So for the time being, do whatever it is that you're doing to the best of your ability, because that will prepare you to do what you want to do to the best of your ability. So we've kind of always lived by that. We want to deliver superior content, superior information. And it's not just, we're here to compete. We're here to draw attention, as every business is trying to do. But to us, it's just a standard that we like to hold. Like, if we're going to do something, then you're going to do it, right? If you're playing a sport, you're trying to go to be the champion no matter what, right? Nobody's playing for second place. At least that's the way that we're thinking about it. Not that we need to be first place or that we need it, but that's at least the goal. That's where we're trying to head. And, you know, however far that takes us is always just going to be our talent and our work ethic for sure.
Man, I'm glad this is recorded because we should have something called Steve quotes, you know? You just drop like 5 things as like standard. I mean, that's exactly what it is. You got to raise your standard. Your standard just can't be a photo of 5 pictures of a house and then put it on the market and expect it to sell. You got to.
Or it is your standard, right? And then you just got to be self-aware that that's your standard and what can you do better to increase your standard or just get left by the wayside. I mean, ultimately, it's a decision thing per person, right? And what my standard is may be different to somebody else's standard. Who's to say that theirs are wrong or mine's right? But at least be self-aware that this is your standard and be cognizant of the fact that can I become better? Can the standard increase? What are other people doing in my field, outside of my field, that can make it better, right? And that's the goal. I mean, just progression, not perfection, but progression is kind of where we're headed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had another question for you, and this is more for our clients and people from the Miami business leaders that's following that are investors, and that they're essentially going to purchase either a multifamily unit or home with the purposes of then renting it out. So I know we were speaking with Hagel Laurent from Laurent Law Firm about a month ago, and he was talking about how if certain mortgages that the tenant essentially didn't have to pay. So what would you say to investors when it comes to that? Do you see that as a concern where people are either saying, you know what, now's not a good time because if I rent it out and I can't even then be able to, I may have the government tell me that I can't, you know, even collect the rent, I can't evict. So can you talk about that for investors?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, as an investor and owner of multifamily, and also as a property manager for many different people who own multifamily and buildings and just one-off condos, we're seeing it from different angles, right? From a property manager perspective, we want to reach out to the tenant. We want to, before this whole thing happened, we reached out to every tenant, figured out what was going on. That I would say, luckily for us, nobody tried to, I guess, the forbearance to not pay their rent or not, you know, that didn't happen for us. I attribute that to good screening and good tenant screening practices before you even get anybody in the door. I feel strongly as an owner and as a property manager that 99% of your tenant problems come from bad screening practices. So the better you screen tenants, the more headaches you avoid in the future. And there's I made a video about how to screen tenants that goes more in detail. So I'm not going to bore you guys with the facts, but essentially that is what you need to do. So I think that our screening practices allowed us to kind of get the right people in place. And, you know, luckily we're there to lend a helping hand. We didn't want to charge any late fees or any notice fee, like anything. We wanted to at least give that helping hand to our tenants. And luckily, knock on wood, nobody took advantage of that and everybody's been paying their rent on time. Now, I have heard of owners who weren't as lucky, right? And, you know, they have that issue where they get evicted, and it's still kind of a day by day. I've spoken to a bunch of attorneys as to how this could work. And, you know, I don't think the information is very clear out there as to how it's going to work or what the repercussions are going to be after the fact. But I do feel that if you are late or you're not paying as a tenant, that could theoretically affect your credit. I'm not entirely sure about that. Check with an attorney. But even though your landlord is saying, hey, don't pay your rent, or the government rather is saying they can't evict you, doesn't necessarily mean that there's not negative consequences if therefore you can pay your rent, right? Some property managers, us ourselves, we were under the impression that if we do run across the situation, we're going to send an application to each one of our tenants to kind of, you know, fill out their information. If they were furloughed, we want to understand people, but we also don't want to be taken advantage of. And that's kind of the idea. Mm-hmm. So an application that says, you know, where you work, when you were furloughed, and kind of just verify that with the employer to make sure that they are going to go back to work, that they are off of work. And then from there, case by case basis, try to help each and every single tenant. There are some owners as well that are paying tenants who haven't got, like, if you are a tenant and you haven't paid in the last 2 or 3 months, there's some owners that I know of that are paying tenants to leave so they can re-rent the property.
Wow.
The contract. So there's a lot of things going on in the industry and the market. It's tough to say what's right or what's wrong because it's so new. We've never gone through this before, right? But luckily, I think if you screen tenants correctly in the beginning, you're going to be pretty well set, or at least a lot of your problems are going to be, you know, non-existent, if you will.
Awesome. And Steven, I just love all this information that you're giving our audience about the real estate market. Now, we do have realtors that are part of the Miami business community and the Miami business leaders group. Right. What have you been able to do? Have you sold anything during this time? And what has kept you continuing to kind of just push through negativity or, you know, or the conditions of the times? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have you know, us as a team, we've had been blessed to be able to continue work, and we've been busier now than ever. Primarily, I think because we are a very residential-based real estate team, but also because of our experience as real estate owners and property managers, we have a good investor base as well. And a lot of investors are foaming at the mouth for something like this to happen. And they've been waiting in the sidelines with a lot of money and cash on hand, waiting for you know, a decrease in price in the multifamily space. And it's important to kind of distinguish the both, because residential is increasing in the single family sector. It is a very still difficult, you know, there's competitive offers, there's competition, there's people out there sending multiple offers. Prices are still going up. Transaction volume is up in May, like I mentioned. Multifamily, though, when I speak to an investor, I think that we're going to see a lot of, you know, positives in terms of price. For a long time, cap rates were compressed. People were overpaying for product. People were working on very thin margins. And I think that is going to work against them, because the second you're not able to meet those margins that you had on razor thin margins to begin with, because a lot of investors are just buying just to get into the game, then that becomes a problem, because now when your tenant doesn't pay, you can no longer afford your debt service. Therefore, if you don't have the reserves, then you need to foreclose. And so a lot of people in the investment space are kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, where prices go down, cap rates go back up again. And for a while, I wasn't buying. I was just looking at product and there's nothing that made sense, right? So, and if you don't know what you're looking for, then you get kind of finagled, if you will, into buying something that you shouldn't be buying. And then these are the consequences, unfortunately. So a lot of multifamily owners, we're preparing them with, you know, just making sure the financing is in check. We speak with lenders to see what the requirements are, because those are changing. We are looking over their finances, just their financial house, in order they have the funds available, disposable. But in terms, let me get back. I know I went a little off track. In terms of selling, yeah, we have been able to, fortunately, we had 3 deals closed last week, 3 sales. So we have been moving. We have a couple more properties under contract as well. Last month and this month, we've been able to close on sales, a lot of rentals still. So the market is still moving. What we've been doing is just constant information. You know, we kind of went into this. I already had my YouTube channel before that, kind of right before this whole thing happened. And my wife and I kind of looked at each other and said, look, this is the time to just bring out good information to people, because people are kind of all wondering the same thing, like what's going to happen, what can happen. So our information was kind of at real time. What is going on? It could change today. It could be different tomorrow. But at the very least, you know what is happening. And transactions are still going on. And I guess to your last question, in terms of positivity, I've just, like I mentioned before, like I'm just an eternal optimist, and I kind of see things very different as to maybe my counterparts. I've kind of wanted, in a weird way, I know this sounds really, really weird, I've kind of wanted a tough market to deal with. Not to anybody's detriment. I don't want people to lose money and lose their jobs, by no means. But to me, I kind of felt like tough markets really single out the agents that are supposed to shine. And if you're in a good market, any real estate agent can make money. You know, for the most part, they can sell properties. It's really the tough markets that get you to the next level, right? So to me, it was like, if you're a good agent in a good market, or a great agent in a good market, what are you in a tough market, right? So that's kind of just a thing, an internal thing that I wanted to do. So I've kind of been looking at it that way. So in a weird way, it's kind of something I expected. We all know that there's cycles, good cycles and bad cycles. So I kind of expected it. I was kind of in a weird way looking forward to it. So I think I was mentally prepared even before this whole thing happened. I don't think anybody expected what happened, but at the very least, you know, going into it with that mindset, I think gave me the edge, gave me the advantage for sure. But there's a lot of people that are crushing it and killing it, you know, and we're just trying to compete.
Yeah. Also in IT, what we call that is trunk slammers. And a trunk slammer in IT is essentially the guy, he gets his, you know, Florida state license to, you know, do IT services. And he goes in there and doesn't know what he's doing, much cheaper, you know, rock bottom prices. But then when you have this like kind of like squeeze, then that's when they like, this is not for me. And then now they run away. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's not that you want it to happen, but it also does kind of then puts the guys that are in a position where, you know, where they are,
right,
separate from those guys that, you know, may either undercut you on the commission rate or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I think it benefits everybody because you're working with top of the line people in your service in your industry, right? And that benefits our consumer, our customer, our client, because whoever they're working with, you know, if they're in a tough market and you guys are still doing business, that means that you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
so it
exactly.
benefits everybody for sure.
Right. And one thing that I liked is you said that before all of this, you know, business shutting down and everything happening, you already had your YouTube, you were already marketing, you were already kind of, you know, spreading awareness of your market. And I think that speaks a lot to the true business leader, you know, because a business leader is going to continue to thrive even in in challenging times. You're going to be prepared. I've always been taught that prepare so that when doors open, you already have your stuff together. You don't have to kind of scramble to now get your website done, you know, now get professional headshots, now start to, you know, worry about your SEO or your whatever marketing you want to do. You know, we have to be prepared. And I like that you were already prepared. And I believe that it's because of that, of being prepared, that has allowed you to thrive in these times, because you were already set up. You already had the vision in mind, and you were already working towards that. And what I'm seeing now, and actually with some friends that are in your current market in other markets, now they want to do their website. Now they're crushing. Now they're this. Now they're that. Well, hopefully this all is going to disappear. And even if you try to be ahead now and try to get everything done now, you're almost still going to be a step behind, sure. Because you should have done it when it was not crunch time, you know, when it wasn't challenging, and you should have already been prepared. And I think, like, to the same point, I believe that that's what really separates a business leader and someone that, I'm not saying they're not business leaders, but maybe someone that needs training, that needs a mentor, that needs an entrepreneur to maybe come alongside them and give them a little bit more tips and a little bit more things of what they can do to get to the next step, to get to the next level. Yeah,
I with businesses too, because, you know, I work with a lot of my clients own businesses, right? Whether it's small business, you know, however big it is, but yeah, I've noticed that it's a mindset thing. It's a mental game. Business, I think, is more mental than anything. Like, you just have to be prepared. You have to just look at things like what, you know, the way I kind of look at business and just me in general is, what am I complacent in? And whatever I'm complacent in, I need to throw out, because comfort is going to kill your business. The second you become comfortable and complacent that this is where I'm at. And I realized that a few years ago, you know, I was successful, you know, I won these accolades and I was kind of coasting, and I was just kind of doing, and I just realized if I keep coasting, there's no way that I'm going to go up. Success never comes in people's comfort zone, right? When I first started to get to, you know, whatever award that I got in my first couple of years, it always took those extra phone calls that I didn't want to do, those extra meetings that I didn't want to do, you know, all these things you don't want to do. So I kind of, you know, me and my wife, we kind of sit down and say, you know, what do people don't want to do? right? Let's do that. And most people don't want to make a YouTube channel, right? You're putting yourself out there. I get it. Like I speak to a lot of people. I tell them you should make a YouTube channel because Google says that over 80 to 85% of businesses will be, or I'm sorry, 80 to 85% of content will be video based in the next 2 to 3 years in a very short time. So that just tells you that if you don't have video content out there, you're going to be forgotten. Yet most people don't want to build a YouTube channel. They don't want to put themselves on video. And they say, they don't have the time. All these other excuses, they don't have the money or whatever. It's very cheap, very affordable to actually do it. It's really just, you don't want to put yourself out there. And the second you admit that to yourself is the second that you can start finding a solution, right? And start battling as to why I don't want to. And then answer yourself that question. What do I want more? What do I want more? My success or my comfort? Mm-hmm. You got to pick one, you can't have both, And so the second you start realizing that success comes from out of your comfort zone, I think you become more comfortable with that. So I tell all small businesses, all my clients, get on YouTube. I'm not interesting enough. Good information is always interesting, no matter what, right? So as long as you're giving value, that's always interesting. Now, it may not be interesting to every single person on every single day, but it's going to be interesting to somebody. So.
Right. And I love what you said. Do you want success or do you want comfort? And I believe that comfort is the enemy of success.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think that if we ever want to reach a certain level of achieving our dreams, that comfort is going to be one of them. So you're absolutely right. I think Andre had something.
Yeah, we had a question from the viewer. They wanted to know, do you see, so now everybody's working from home, do you see prospective buyers asking for like an extra room so that they can actually have a place to have their home office or their out of the office place?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I forgot what I always forget. It was Twitter or one of these big companies. They started reducing office space because they started realizing that people can actually be more productive from home. And I'm one of those people. I would go to the office every day, get there early. I was always that mindset. People always ask me, why don't you work from home? You can work from home. And I was always like, if I go to the gym, I need to go to the gym. I can't have a household gym, if I go to study, I need to go to the library. I can't study from home. If I go to work, I need to go to, right? So that was kind of my thing. But I started realizing like, wow, I'm way more productive in my home than I was at the office, right? Because there's a lot of distractions, a lot of things. So I get things done way more. And I think everybody's starting to realize that. I myself am looking to get a third bedroom, on an additional bedroom for our office for podcasts and things like that. So nice. Yeah. And I'm not the only one. A lot of people. And I'll point out something interesting. Being in a quarantine, if you were in a home, if you were renting, or maybe you were in a home that you bought many years ago, you started realizing very quickly if you liked or didn't like that home. So wow. if you were in a home for 30, 45 days, you start realizing, man, I need more space. So people were calling me saying, hey, if I'm ever going to be quarantined again, I can't be quarantined in this home, right? I got to be quarantined somewhere else. So people started realizing that because most people don't spend that much time in their home as we're spending now. And you're starting to realize, hey, maybe this wasn't that good of an option, right? So for sure, absolutely, people are getting more rooms.
That's incredible, man. I mean, you are just dropping such, besides from the business talk and the real estate, you're just dropping some awesome knowledge, I think, just for entrepreneurs themselves. There's a comment, though, that I want to address. It says, Alex, who's actually part of the Miami Business Leaders Group. Alex, we thank you so much for chiming into our group and always being a productive voice in there. He says, tough markets help level the playing field. Now, what does that mean to you, Stephen, as a realtor?
I think maybe what he's mean, or the way I kind of look at that is that real estate is ever evolving and business is ever evolving. But in the real estate industry, I can say is that a lot of we'll call them seasoned real estate agents who've been doing this for a long time. They're not too apt to change into technology or I guess new practices as some of the newer agents are, but they do have that experience. They do have the referral base. They do have a lot of things going for them. Right. So, and what I mean, I'll give you an example, like somebody who's been in the business for 20, 25 years, I tell them YouTube channel, I tell them social media. They're like, I've never had a YouTube channel. I've never had social media. I never needed it. right, to be successful. And I think tough markets level the playing field because especially in a market like this, if you're not doing that, somebody who is maybe not as seasoned or experienced and had those referrals can reach a wider audience, right? And get there much quicker than maybe it took somebody else. That's the way I'm looking at it, right? I mean, he may have a different opinion on that, but I do think that tough markets level the playing field in a way because it forces everybody to get out of their day-to-day, and it forces you to be creative and adapt. And those who adapt and are creative and evolve are ultimately the ones that come out on top. But that is in everything in life. That's not just business. That's just the way the world is, right? The way things work. You have to adapt and grow and just change. And so you have, I guess in a weird way, you have to be ready for things not going your way in a way, right?
So that means no more billboards with the picture and the real estate name of
no,
agent
man.
and things like that, right?
No, I mean, if you do a quick study as to, I mean, look, it may work for somebody. I'm not knocking anybody who does billboards and buses and, newspaper, whatever, magazines like that's, hey, if it's working for you, who am I to say anything different, right? I tip my hat to you. But though, if you're starting out and you just look at like cost per view or just like the way you could stretch your dollar, because when you're starting out, you obviously don't have the funds and the resources that a lot of these bigger guys have, right? So you're looking at it as where can I get the most value? And it's very apparent that social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube are the best platforms. They're actually underpriced. I mean, if you listen to a lot of like Gary Vaynerchuk and, he's an expert at that, he'll tell you it's underpriced right now. And it's getting to a point where I think he made a comparison where I think the internet, or what was it? He had mentioned that social media is the new television, as where banners and TV and all that is the radio. So you remember when radio was prominent in ads and then TV came around and then, people were like, no, that TV thing is a fad. And so TV kind of took over. That's what he's saying social media is today. People don't believe in it, but it's the new TV and the new way people are doing things. So I think the more you jump on board with that, I think the more successful ideally you'll become.
And I think you've raised some good points because, maybe some people are not at your level. Steven, even you've been doing this for 6 years, but you have seen to manage this extremely well, where you are not just a realtor, but you have a property management company. You also own property. So you are at a place where maybe realtors who are starting out, they're like, man, how can I get there? But I like what you're saying because there are tools available for you to get to that point. There are tools available for anyone who wants to become an entrepreneur, who wants to start their own business, that are low cost, if even free, and they can help drive your business. They can help, drive. And one thing, for example, we just did a live. If you're able to join in the Miami Business Leaders Group, if you're a business owner, CFO, or CEO in your company, and you're part of the entrepreneur space and small business, we welcome you to be part of the Miami Business Leaders Group inside Facebook, because we actually just did a video where Andre spoke about how he had to outsource some work from websites from like Upwork or Fiverr or things like that in order to get some stuff started. Now, we believe in investing in our own economy, but we have, in order for us to sometimes invest in our own economy, we have to get it started. We have to start to make the money so that we can invest in our own community, so that we can, invest in our own economy. So taking advantage of social media, Facebook, Fiverr, Upwork, maybe even interns, interns that are studying can help you grow your business. They want to learn, they need the experience, and a lot of times, colleges pay for their internship, or you can work out a stipend. So there are plethora of ways for people to, get up now and start running. It's funny because I just said how if you were in business before and you're just now, trying to set up your website and all that stuff, you might have been already too late, but this might be the time for you to also start, because things are kind of a little bit still kind of dead. You know, people are still kind of home. So you kind of have some time now to sit down in front of your computer and say, okay, what can I do now in this space so that I can now jump into, you know, start a new season. We're going to go into 2021, you know, running and not catching up, but we're going to start 2021 being a business leader and not a business follower. Mm-hmm. Hey, I think I got onto something there. You know, we want to be business leaders and not business followers. So I think those are just some really good points that you put in there about there are things out there in the market that will help you thrive, that are very economical, and you that will help you achieve your goals. Stephen, another thing I want to kind of go back into the conversation, you mentioned that there's a ton of people that are moving. Where are you seeing this moving coming from? Like, what are some states or what are some cities or countries that you've been dealing with of people moving into the Miami community?
I would probably say up north. I mean, New York is always been a prominent, you know, area where a lot of people move down from, and Miami has always had this good relationship with New York. You know, I think that almost everybody knows somebody who has family who lives in New York, right? It's like, and vice versa. But it's actually shown in the numbers. I mean, Douglas Elliman, a client of mine actually sent me a stat that Douglas Elliman came out with. So, and it said that I think it was like 85% of New York sales over $1 million are down. Let me rephrase that. Condos over $1 million are down 85%. And in Miami, single family homes for the same month are up 45 or 50%. So that kind of tells you that the migration is coming this way. Now, are they going to other states? Absolutely. I mean, I think that they're probably heading to Texas because Texas is the second or the first migrated state. So a lot of people are going everywhere. And it's also been said, a lot of studies have come out that people in highly congested cities are looking for more, you know, space, more rural areas. So like Florida has a lot of that up north, maybe not like Miami, but there's a lot of land. So people are coming to areas like that where are just more spread out. And I think, you know, it's a combination of things. People got tired of taxes in certain states, the weather in certain states, and coronavirus just kind of made it impossible. It was just kind of, if you were on the fence about it before, you're definitely pulling the trigger now, right? There's never a better time. But yeah, like to your point, I did want to mention something about like practical. My whole thing is being practical, right? And like giving you things that you can utilize today. So, you know, you made a great point. Like we need to definitely help us first before we help other people. I love that because I've always used the analogy, like the airplane analogy, right? The oxygen mask. You need to put your oxygen mask on before you can put anybody else's oxygen mask on, right? So, you know, that's kind of the way that I look at things, and being more practical. Like real estate investing requires a lot of money, like, and that's kind of like everybody's, you know, it stifles a lot of people to get started because of that. But one thing that I would say, just to be practical, is the way I kind of got started in real estate investing was there's a lot of people that have money than there are people who know what they're doing in real estate. So when I started realizing that, I was just like, look, if you become the knowledge expert, you can meet somebody who has money and say, look, you have the money, but you don't have the time. I have the time and the resources, and I don't have the money. So let's partner up on a deal because I know exactly what I'm doing. You provide the money, and you may have to give up a percentage. They may have to be 80% owner of the property, you 20, but you got your foot in the door, right? So now you become that, right? So you become that knowledge broker, you become that expert, and you don't even need to be a real estate agent. You just inundate yourself with so much real estate, multifamily information or investing information. I know a lot of clients that are doctors, lawyers, they don't have time. They don't even care. They don't want to learn anything about it. All they do is, I need to get this money and put it somewhere to work for me. And the stock market has proven to be a little bit volatile, so I need to put it somewhere else. And real estate is the logical second choice. So a lot of people do that. So if you just become practical on that, then you could do it as well. Not to mention that a lot of people are house hacking as well. House hacking is another thing you can search up on YouTube, but you could do a 3.5% FHA loan on a property. And we just had a client do this. He bought a duplex. He had a VA loan, but you could use an FHA loan. Let's say you get a duplex, you get a 3.5% loan on it. You buy for 3.5% down. So on a $455,000 property, that could be anywhere between $15,000 to $25,000, something like that, including closing costs. So it's something reasonable. You live in one side of the unit, you rent the other side out. Essentially, the tenant is paying your mortgage down. You may have zero to very little cost. And then after 365 days, you're legally allowed to move out of it. And then you rent another one. And you're the one that you live. So now you have two tenants in a duplex, and then now you just repeat the cycle, find another property. So people are doing that everywhere. People are buying houses and renting out rooms, house hacking, and then, just renting out a room. It's just being creative. I mean, if you want it, you're going to find a way to get it, So, but over the years, it's a long-term game. Like you mentioned in the beginning, it's not a get rich quick scheme, but how Cardone says, it's a get rich for sure scheme. So it's just taking the time to every year try to get one property under your belt, and you could do it with the resources and the people who want it are out there. Trust me. I have more people with money who want to buy product than there are product available. I mean, that is the problem right now.
That is so good. I know that, like I said earlier, we were in that journey of trying to want to invest in a multifamily home, whether that was a duplex, and we were actually thinking about doing the same thing. We did not know that it was called hijacking.
House hacking.
Okay, house hacking.
Yeah.
But we were thinking about doing that, just because we see the value in the passive income, and obviously in growing that market, we see that value. So Steven, we just want to thank you so much for your time. I think that this conversation was amazing. I think anyone that is listening to this conversation, whether you're in the real estate market, in whatever market, I see some people in the IT space here. I see some people who are in other spaces of real estate joining the conversation. I mean, this is definitely a conversation that everyone wants to hear because it relates to every business. There's tidbits of something that you can plug into every business. So I want to thank you for your time, for joining us inside the Miami Business Leaders Group, and for being so proactive to getting on this call with us. So for the viewers and for people who are going to watch the replay, because we do leave this in the Miami Business Leaders Group, and we actually also leave it in the Ark Solvers page. How can they find you? What do they do if they say, you know what, Steven, I just kind of want more information. I like what you said. Give them a little bit of how they can reach you.
Yeah, first and foremost, Instagram, the Vargas Team, Facebook, the Vargas Team. I made it pretty simple. On YouTube, I have a lot of videos about buying, selling, renting, and investing, property management, everything real estate related, conversations such as these. You could search for me at Steven Vargas on YouTube. And yeah, the link for you, Google my reviews as well, just Steven Vargas. So yeah, if you search, you'll find me. But yeah, essentially, I'm out there.
That is awesome. Awesome. Well, we want to go ahead and end the call now. And again, we want to thank all who have tuned in, all of our members and Miami Business Leaders. We hope that you are finding an extreme value in our interviews. Our next interview is going to be coming up in the next 2 weeks, which is going to be with Dr. Charlie Ware. And he is going to be speaking about how to stay healthy in business. So that is something that we all need, especially right now. Our health is key. Without our health, we can't continue to thrive our businesses. So tune into that. That is going to be in the next 2 weeks. And of course, we will advertise that inside the Miami Business Leaders Group. Listen, you're missing out. You want to get inside that group. You want to network with people like Steven who are inside that group. You want to hit them up and ask them questions. If you're a real estate agent, we invite you guys all to kind of hit up all the realtors that we have inside the group and create your space where you guys can share ideas. There's so many ways that we can use this group to continue to drive our community, continue to bless our community and drive business. Because at the end of the day, I shared this with Steven earlier, small businesses are community. And small businesses care about people. We care about where we live. We care about the people who we employ. So let's get together to make sure that we're all being responsible business owners and responsible entrepreneurs, helping each other grow and hopefully create more opportunities for our generations to come. because at the end of the day, that's truly what we're all here for. So thank you, Steven. Any last words you want to say?
No.
Great. All right, Steven.
Awesome.
So thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
guys for having me. I
Say hi to
appreciate
your
it.
wife. We can't wait to maybe do something with her as well in the future. And we look forward to seeing you guys next.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.